Hi everyone. Welcome to today's session, which is on XAT decision making, where I'll be discussing some key pointers that you need to keep in mind when you're attempting the XAT decision making section. How do you prioritize options in XAT decision making? Where the options are quite confusing is something that we'll be detailing out in today's session, along with a few pointers for XAT exam decision making section D day. This session is brought to you by me, Nilanjan Dutta, an XLRI alumnus and one of the topmost educators on Unacademy and Unacademy Plus for the CAT and the MB exam segment. This is a brief about myself, and I want to take the opportunity to inform all you XAT aspirants about the Unacademy Plus decision making course. So it's part of the Unacademy Plus subscription, where you can use the discount code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing. Alternately, you can use the other code, that is Nilanjan.yt, which is standing for YouTube. So Nilanjan.yt is the other code that you can use while subscribing to avail the subscription at a much discounted price. Remember, unlike CAT, where DIR is the most core booster section, here in XAT, it's decision making that will be the most important section. The next decision making live session is tomorrow, Sunday at 10 a.m. So before Sunday 10 a.m., that's your session on quantitative decision making, which is very important. Do make sure that all of you subscribe to Unacademy Plus using the discount code Nilanjan.yt or Nilanjan Dutta, where there is no space between Nilanjan and Dutta. The sessions are going to be taken by me and XLRI Alumnus, so I'll be guiding you on what exactly XLRI seeks in the decision making section, how you can solve more questions and sets in less time, how the option elimination approaches work, smart guessing across the entire spectrum of decision making, that is ethical dilemmas, quantitative DM, and analytical decision making. So overall, some of the best of tips and tricks to be mastered from an XLRI alumnus. This is the opportunity, so do make sure that all of you are staying subscribed to Unacademy Plus. We also have GDPI courses which are live, so do make sure that all of you are attending the GDPI course as well. So be subscribed for at least the next 6 months on Unacademy Plus. Unless you're looking at CAT-20, then you can look at the 12-month subscription. But otherwise, the 6-month subscription is ideal because that'll take care of all your needs until approximately the time you get admitted into a base school. Irrespective of which subscription plan you choose, use the discount code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing or Nilanjan.yt while subscribing. You'll get the subscription at a much cheaper price. Along with XAT decision making, we also have the XAT CAT-alyst, which is the most important section from a number of questions standpoint. The highest weighted section is the XAT CAT-alyst. So where we are having the score booster approaches, we're looking at the 30 seconds to 1 minute approaches to XAT CAT-alyst. So do make sure you're being part of all these live sessions, and to avail a discount code, go to unacademy.com/plus. Select your subscription plan, that is either the 6-month or the 12-month preferably. Here in the referral code section, enter the code Nilanjan Dutta, or you can enter Nilanjan.yt, click on apply, you'll see apply successfully, and the discount would have applied. The price will reduce, you can subscribe. Remember, there's no space for Nilanjan and Dutta in the discount code. Alternatively, you can use the discount code Nilanjan.yt, where YT stands for YouTube. So 6 months of subscription, and in case you have any juniors who are preparing for CAT 2020, we advise them on the 12-month or the 24-month subscription. For all of you, 6-month subscription is a must. So now what we'll do is we'll get started with the key pointers for XAT decision making. So the most important thing is reading the question and understanding what is the objective in the question. For example, let's take a situation where somebody has been blamed or is accused in a particular case. So one of the questions in that set might be talking about which of the following will acquit the person of the blame, while another question could be talking about which of these would make the charges against that person even stronger. So note the set remains the same, but the questions in both the cases are different, which means we've got to follow the objective of those questions. So in that cases, you cannot just think ethically or practically and go about. You've got to look at what best can be done to save the particular objective that is there. Even if it means supporting somebody who's done something wrong, you've got to go with such an option. So most important is understanding the objective of the question and following that. Following that objective part, the next thing is, and this is very important because a lot of you tend to make the same mistake, that is you'll end up choosing ideal solutions. Remember, the first rule that I should making is do not choose ideal solutions. Instead, choose practical and feasible solutions. And the follow-up is choose what is most profitable for the company. Remember, every company at the end of the day, every corporate stands for profit, so that is what you're expected to focus on. So go by profitability, go by what is practical, what's achievable, what is feasible. I'll give you an example. A lot of philanthropic measures are something which everybody loves, but that doesn't mean that a company can only run on philanthropy. So that would be an ideal world. So do not go by options which are only based on philanthropy. Instead, go by what are the returns or what are the benefits as well that the company is incurring. So ethics is not supposed to be a priority. Your priority is always in that decision making. It's supposed to be most practical, most feasible, and most profitable solution. The next one is it should be fair for all stakeholders. So often when you think a decision, what might happen is it might not be limited to your company. There may be other stakeholders also getting impacted. For example, one of the examples could be your shareholders. As a company, you might have people who have invested in a company. So taking care of the needs of your shareholders is important. Taking care of your employees is important. Taking care of your management is important. Taking care of your board of directors is important. At the same time, taking care of your customers or client needs are important. So, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're negotiating with your clients, and they often might end up in a situation where your client is not happy with a particular practice that you all do as a company, or maybe something pertaining to some other client. So in such cases, you've got to factor in both this particular client's perspective as well as the other client's perspective, as well as your own employee and your own management perspective, your own company's brand value perspective. All of these need to be placed, and then you need to look at decisions. It cannot be biased towards one stakeholder. It's not like one client raised a concern, so I act on it. No, you've got to look at it from a fairness for everybody. Similarly, you might end up getting a choice to set up a factory in a particular location. You've got to think about what about the people who are residing there, who will be thrown from their place where the factory is going to be built. So community building is something that you again need to think of in such cases. So go by something which is fair for all stakeholders, but that doesn't mean you go with philanthropy. We are not looking for ideal solutions, but at the same time looking for fairness, because that will help in a long-term view. The next thing, and this is very important, is avoiding extreme solutions. often you'll find that particular set of options are very extreme in nature. So in such cases, the first thing that you're supposed to do is identify which are those extreme solutions and eliminate them. Unless there's a very strong case for an extreme solution and that is the only other option. Otherwise, avoid extreme solutions. Look for a more balanced approach. This is always going to help you and work wonders for you. At the same time, you cannot be emotionally swayed. So you've got to make sure that you're keeping your own personal, this is very important. A lot of times what happens is our thinking is based on our own personal biases. So avoid personal biases, avoid getting emotionally swayed, avoid extreme solutions, look at a more balanced approach. Another thing that you'll find often in the options is, which is something which you might have observed in your day-to-day life, that is, often the management is status quo to problems. That is, they ignore the problems that are being faced by the organization. This is where you've got to be a little more judicious. Remember, the reason why they're admitting you into a B school is because they want you to be standout managers, which means your job is not just to be status quo to problems. It's not just let the problem die down by itself. You have to be proactive in nature. So status quo is absolutely not acceptable. They are looking for proactive management. So you've got to be proactive in your decisions. You've got to choose options which are proactive, which are avoiding any kind of bias, which are balanced in nature, but at the same time, the root thing must not be swayed. That is most practical, achievable, and most profitable. Remember, it is not supposed to be the most ethical. You do not go with the most ethical solution. Now, often a lot of you might get confused between ethical options. I'll give you an example. So let's say there are 5 options in a question, and when you arrange the options in terms of practical or feasibility, you end up finding that your option sequence is as follows: C, B, A, E, D. But when you look at it from an ethics standpoint, you might find that the option sequence comes out to be E, A, B, C and D. C and D fall in the unethical category. E, A, B are not unethical, they are ethical, but at the same time, E is the most ethical, followed by A, followed by B. In a lot of these situations, I've seen a lot of you tend to mark the answer as option E, which is a very incorrect approach. Remember, your priority is still supposed to be profitable or feasible. So can anybody tell me, in such a case, what shall be the answer? In such a situation, which option shall be the answer? More, what I'm saying is, let's say from a profitability standpoint, your sequence of most profitable or feasible solutions are as follows: C followed by B, followed by A, followed by E, followed by D. But from an ethical standpoint, let's say your sequence that is most ethical is E, followed by A, followed by B, and C and D get classified as unethical solutions. In such case, which option should you mark? Tell me which option should you mark out of A, B, C, D and E. So you've been given 5 options. In terms of profitable or feasibility, they are classified, the sequence is C, B, A, E, D. In terms of ethical, it's classified as E, A, B, C and D, where C and D are unethical in nature. In that case, which option should you mark? C is wrong, because remember, C is unethical in nature. Do not go for any unethical option. So straight away eliminate C and D. Now among B, A and E, because all 3 are ethical in nature, you look for which is the most profitable solution, and that is option B. Hence the answer to this question will be option B. Note, it will not be E, despite E being the most ethical, because E is not profitable. We will always go by profitable solutions, but we'll avoid something which is totally unethical. But our solution need not be ideal. So E is the most ethical, so E might have been the most ideal solution, but we'll not go with that. We'll go with what is profitable, that is B. The problem with C is unethical. At the same time, the companies expect you not to take unethical decisions, unethical practices, so avoid C and D, which is unethical. But amongst those which are not unethical, you need to choose the most practical, feasible or profitable solution. So the answer in such cases will be option B. The next thing is again important, that is mid to long term focus. No, Mohit, it is not ethical as well as profitable. It is profitable. Just ensure that your decision is not unethical. It need not be the most ethical decision. It should not be unethical. But profitability wise, it should be the most profitable. Profitability wise, it should be the most profitable option available to you. But ethical wise, it doesn't matter whether it's the most ethical or not. No. All that matters is it should not be something unethical. So mid to long term focus is important. Often what managers do is they pump up short term profits, but in the process what they do is they degrade long-term value. So this is something which is a terrible mistake that managers make. So avoid such kind of decisions which are based entirely on short-term profits but ultimately lead to long-term degradation of value. Always the decisions should be mid to long-term focus, both in terms of profits, both in terms of the way you're dealing with your clients and so on. So in case you've done a mistake, it's always better to own up and work on things, because that will help you in the long-term focus rather than denying the mistake and letting others suffer. Because if you let your clients suffer in the long term, they will move away from doing business with you. So avoid the short-term immediate focus. Focus on what is good for you and the company in the mid to long term. As I said, you have to focus on what's given in the question and focus a lot on option, elimination and combinations. It is very important, especially in questions which involve combinations or which involve ascending order or descending order of the best possible approaches. So in such cases, focus on the option and see which is being said as the best, which is being said as the worst in the ascending or descending order sequence, and accordingly read those options and see whether they are actually supposed to be the best or worst, and accordingly eliminate the options. This is very important in those which involve not a direct option, but it'll give you 4-5 clues and say which is the best sequence of action. Arrange them in ascending or descending order. So always focus on the best and the worst and try and get your answer sorted on the basis of them first. That's the easiest and the quickest way to approach such questions. The final thing, do not compromise on ethics. This is what I was saying. Don't go for something which is unethical. Yes, profitability is important, feasibility is important, practicality is important at the same time. Don't do something, don't be ignorant about the fact that you're compromising on ethics. You need not go for the most ideal solution, that's right, but you should not go for something which is totally unethical or harmful for a particular segment. Remember, you need to be fair to all stakeholders. These are the key things that you need to keep in mind as far as XAT decision making is concerned. Any questions, anybody, on the key pointers? For the rest of it, do make sure that you're part of the Decision Making Plus course, which is being conducted by me on Unacademy Plus, where you have the XAT Decision Making Plus course. So do make sure you're attending the next session, which is tomorrow, Sunday, 10 a.m. It's on quantitative decision making, which is one of the more important, challenging portions in XAT Decision Making. It's available as part of the Unacademy Plus subscription. You can either use the discount code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing, get the space with Nilanjan Dutta, or you can use the code Nilanjan.yt while subscribing to get the subscription at a cheaper price. The following are subscription options. Is very good for a 6-month subscription. That'll cover you not only for XAT but for the GDPI, where you might have seen GDPI courses have already been made live by me. So use the discount code a single time. You need to use it when you're subscribing for a longer duration. That is Nilanjan Dutta or Nilanjan.yt. Either of them will give you good discounts while subscribing. It will be even more cheaper than the prices quoted here. And along with that, you get the XAT QADI workshops as well, along with the XAT decision making as well as the GDPI as part of the 6-month subscription. So to summarize, always go by the most practical, feasible, profitable solution. Just make sure that the solution you're choosing is not something unethical. In case it is, then move on to the next most profitable, practical solution and mark the answer. So do not go with something that's unethical. At the same time, do not be too obsessed about going for ideal solutions either. Always avoid extreme solutions. Avoid status quo in case there's a serious problem. Look at a long-term focus and look at what is fair for all stakeholders. And finally, you always have the luxury of option elimination to guide you. The next thing which is very important is this is for your mocks as well as for your actual exam day. That is, how do you attempt the XAT decision making section? So ideally, to attempt 21 questions, that is all 21 XAT decision making, 50 minutes should be enough. But at max, you can go to 55 minutes, but preferably try and get it done in 50 minutes. 50 minutes is enough to attempt all, and given that accuracy is a difficult job in XAT decision making, every year you'll find XAT decision making, different people thinking different answers to the same question. Because different people tend to think differently as far as when it comes to taking decisions in a crunch situation. So accuracy is not really too much in your hands. So try and attempt all questions and maximize your chances. Prefer questions sets with 3-4 questions, especially for analytical decision making. Prefer for attempting those with 3-4 questions, because what happens is you read the passage only once. The more number of questions, the quicker you're able to attempt more number of questions in a particular given amount of time, compared to those which involve a standalone question. Also, in the passage based ones, the good thing is that subsequent questions often give you hints on answers to some of the other previous questions or subsequent questions again in the set. So passage based questions are always better and easier to work with. It helps you understand the set more as you look into each of the questions and the options. It's a quicker approach as well. Remember, do not go by most ethical option. Just ethical, that is not the way. Ethics is one part, but do not just go with it. Go with practical, objective, and often you might find that none of the options are ideal. So in that case, you've got to look for which is the still amongst the given ones, which could be the best possible combination. So try and work with whatever is possible as the best possible combination. The other thing is timing the paper. So that is where you need to keep your attempts to minutes ratio of 2.5. So what you do is every 15 minutes you should have checked that you've attempted at least 6 questions. At the end of 30 minutes, another 6, that is 12 questions. At the end of 45 minutes, at least 18 questions should have been done. This is the way you can keep your timer check and attempt all questions in a linear. So there are only 21. You can easily attempt them in linear sequence in 50 minutes. Do not think about coming back to a question later. No, just attempt in a linear sequence. The other thing is, do you attempt more of passage-based DM versus quantitative DM? So only if you're good with DILR, go for quantitative DM. Otherwise, stick, especially those of you who are very good with verbal but not so good with quants and DILR, try and restrict yourself first to VRC type, that is passage based DM, which is very similar to what you do in critical reasoning, because that is something you're good at. So always play to your strengths in the paper. Attempting a linear sequence is important, so at any point of time, looking at the question number you are at, you know how many questions you've attempted, and follow this 2.5 minutes max per question. So that is at the end of 15 minutes, you should have been done with at least 6, end of 30 minutes, at least 12, end of 45, at least 18, and approximately 50 minutes preferably, max 55 minutes, you should have been done with the entire decision-making section. Remember, attempting all is important because accuracy is not an easy job as far as XAT decision-making is concerned. So any questions? Anybody? So I'll just open it. I've opened it up for the next 1-2 minutes in case anybody has any questions before we wrap up this session. Ideal way to prepare, as you all know, there is this Unacademy Plus course is going on. The next session is Sunday, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Attend every session live. Please don't just watch the recording. Yes, the recordings are available post the session, but try and watch every session live. Clarify all your doubts regarding during the session itself, and that'll be the most easiest way for you. So today we are covering the entire spectrum of decision making, ethical dilemmas, quantitative decision making, analytical decision making. So the entire spectrum is getting covered. So do make sure you're being part of it. It's available on Unacademy Plus as part of the Unacademy Plus subscription. You can use the discount code Nilanjan Dutta subscribing, or alternatively you can use the discount code Nilanjan.YT, where YT is basically the initials for YouTube. So Nilanjan.YT or Nilanjan Dutta is my name, with no space for Nilanjan and Dutta. You can use while subscribing to get an X Plus subscription discount. We get the decision making course by me and XLRI Alumnus. Along with that, you'll also get the XAT QADI score booster workshops. You're looking at the no pen paper 30 seconds to 1 minute approaches to QADI. All of this is part of a single subscription. So preferably go to 6 months. This will cover you to the GDPI as well. So the GDPI courses have also been made live. So do enroll for that as well. As part of the single subscription, everything is available. So preferably before Sunday 10 a.m. which is the next session, that is tomorrow Sunday 10 a.m. Before that, make sure that tonight itself you and all your friends are going to unacademy.com/plus using the discount code Nilanjan Dutta or using the code Nilanjan.yt and subscribing to the Unacademy Plus CAT subscription. For your juniors, you're preparing for CAT 20, you can ask them to go for the 12-month, which is the most recommended subscription plan. So this is where you use your referral code to get your discounts. You enter the code here and you'll get the discount. You see the price reducing and you can then check out. So 6 months is what most of you should be looking at, and your juniors should be looking at the CAT 2020 subscription plan, which is a 12-month or a 24-month subscription plan. So then, on that note, hope all of you like this session. Do share this video as much as possible with fellow CAT and XAT exam aspirants. On that note, thank you everybody and happy learning.